Buenas tardes a todos. Boa tarde para toda la gente de América Latina que está recibiendo esta reunión. Good afternoon, Julia, and welcome. Julia ha aceptado y va a ser por primera vez, you will be the first, in the history of RELEM, en la historia de RELEM, ever given a lecture in a language which is not Spanish or Portuguese. Que nunca, porque la política de la RELEM es ser latinoamericana. That's our policy. But we decided to make an exception. Quisimos hacer una excepción de acuerdo con Sergio y con todos los miembros del grupo de apoyo, con Rosalía, por ejemplo, que también es miembro del grupo de apoyo, porque pensamos, we decided to make an exception because two reasons, por dos razones. You are a Canadian sincerely interested in the Americas. Usted es una canadiense que está sinceramente interesada en las Américas. La prueba está that you have been, we have been making research about a comparison. Estuvimos trabajando con Julia haciendo una comparación entre Canadá y Argentina. Then, she is a person really interested in. Ella es una persona que está realmente interesada. Segundo, she had just presented at Finland. En Finlandia presentó un trabajo en cooperación de 4 países, España, Canadá, Argentina y
México.
México. Thank you so much. 2 latinoamericanos y un norteamericano y un europeo. The symposium yo presenté en Finland. Por lo tanto, Julia es verdaderamente una amiga de tratar de conectarnos y conocernos mejor internacionalmente. You are really a friend. Y la tercera razón es porque el próximo Congreso Mundial de la ISME va a ser en Canadá en el 2026. Next International Conference will be in Canada in 2026. Y la escuela que dirige Julia va a ser la sede de la Comisión de Investigación. I don't just let you know what I have said. Esta es la razón por la cual yo también I said the big conference and you being the host of the research seminar. Esta es la razón por la cual, por razones mías personales de añares acumulados, esto en español se entiende y en portugués también, además quise tener el gusto de invitarlo a Ramiro Limongi, nuevo chair de la Comisión de Investigaciones, cargo que ocupó en algún momento Sergio y que ocupé en algún momento yo también, porque él además el 1 de noviembre va a dar una conferencia, esta vez en idioma nuestro. The unique exception will stay being Julia, up to now at least. Pero Ramiro nos va a acompañar hoy para estar a cargo de todas las interacciones, intercomunicaciones, manejo de chat, en fin, todas las cosas para que en la conferencia de esta tarde, que como ustedes saben se graba y va después a todos los socios de la RELEM en todo el mundo y además a nuestros archivos, puedan desarrollarse con claridad. I have just explained the maneuver, Julia, you and Ramiro and I, we have already talked about that. Then, con esto, I finish my speech. Yo termino con esto. Le doy la bienvenida a Julia Brook. You are absolutely welcome, Julia. And let's go, you with Ramiro for the RELEM. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Muchas gracias. Thank you, Ana Lucia. Excuse me. I'm going to share my slides. I said before that I will. So first, let me say it is a huge, wonderful honor to be invited to speak to RELEM. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak in English. I will try my best to learn more Spanish when I present again in Latin America. As Ana Lucia mentioned, she and I have become really, really great friends, and she has been a wonderful mentor to me as we've done research together comparing music education in Canada and in Argentina. Today, I'm speaking to you as the outgoing chair of the ISME Research Commission, the research seminar. So I'll tell you a little bit. We are going to focus, and I'm going to give you some information about the Research Commission. I'm sure most of you know it intimately. I see Sergio and I see Ana Lucia and Ramiro, who have been part of the commission for a long time. But we hope that we will see more Latin Americans at our next commission in 2026. So I will also say I'm going to try my best to speak in very slow English. Sometimes when I get nervous, I speak faster. Please unmute yourself and tell me to slow down, and I'm happy to do so. So here we go. Let me just click here. Great. So we have three things to talk about today. I'm going to talk a bit about the Research Commission and its history and its mission and its vision. Then I'm going to spend most of the talk discussing and describing what our 2024 research seminar was like in Jyväskylä, Finland, and what some of the papers were that were presented and how the seminar represented our mission and vision. And then I'm going to speak a little bit about 2026, which Ramiro will speak more about when he comes on November the 1st to the next RELEM. So there are a lot of slides, and the slides have been translated into Spanish. And so I think what I'll do is I'll give you a minute to read the slides, and then I'll speak in English over top of it to just give you an overview. So I'll introduce the slide, give you some time to read, and then synthesize the slide. So this slide outlines the vision and the mission of the Research Commission. So I'll just let you read it, and then I'll say some points. So the Research Commission aims to support music education through and in research. We like to say we focus on both what we find through our research and how we go about conducting research. We think of research as a systematic way of inquiring about something in music education, which could include a variety of research designs, including quantitative methodologies, qualitative methodologies from a variety of disciplines. So people who study music education within music education present, as well as people who study in music psychology, in music sociology. We also have a lot of people who have presented comparative education, such as Ana Lucia, or philosophical education. So we welcome all forms of music education, and we also like to discuss the methodology and how the methodology is related to the findings or helps to shape the findings. As a commission, we're here to advocate for music education and to support the growth and the sustainability and the rigor of music education, and also to help to ensure that children and people around the globe have access to music education. we think about music education in its broadest sense. So we're not focused just on school education. School education is part of that. So is music education in the university part of that, as well as music education in communities. So we think very holistically about both music education and also about research. And during the seminar, we discuss both of those aspects. This slide gives you a bit of the history of the Research Commission in the International Society for Music Education. So this slide, the Research Commission is really proud to be the first of the pre-conference commissions for the International Society for Music Education. So as Ana Lucía mentioned, the next one is in Canada. So the Research Commission is part of the pre-conference sessions. So there are 9 commissions within the pre-conference of ISME. And then in the second week, all the people attending those commissions are welcome to attend the World Conference. So the first, excuse me, the first Research Commission happened in 1968 in Reading, England. And Ana Lucía was at that meeting and has been to all of our Research Commissions so far. We celebrated our 50th anniversary in 2018, and we celebrated that during the Research Commission, which was held in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. And then there was also another celebration in Latin America in Buenos Aires. As I mentioned, the Research Commission welcomes music education research from a variety of disciplines, including sociology, psychology, history, etc. So now we'll talk a little bit about the seminar that we had in Uvascula. So this seminar was the first time we had an in-person seminar since 2018. So because of the pandemic, we had an online commission in 2020 and in 2022. And so we were back in person in 2024 in Uvascula, Finland. Uvascula is 3 hours north of Helsinki, and it's in Finland's Lakeland district. So Uvascula is a medium-sized town, about a university town, and it also had lots of trees and was on the water. So it was a really beautiful place for us to come to. We decided that this conference would be hybrid. While we were really happy to be back in person, we also recognized from having our online conferences that people were able to attend the Research Commission who, for financial reasons, time reasons, family reasons, didn't have the ability to travel to be in person. And we wanted to make sure they were included in the conference. So we had a hybrid conference, which meant that participants could join us either online or in person. So the picture you see in front of you is a picture of us at the University of Uvascula during our session. You'll see everyone who was there sitting around the tables for our discussion, and then the people who were joining us online are there on the screen. I think you'll see Ramiro, who has the microphone there, so he was probably asking a question. Now, what do you do? How can you participate in the Research Commission? We welcome people present papers. So they submit 3,000-word papers, and then they present those papers at the commission. They have a 15-minute presentation followed by questions, or people can submit a poster and do a poster presentation. Our poster presentations are more like short oral presentations. So people have a 5-minute presentation in front of the whole group, and then they have 10 minutes for questions. So it's really a short presentation, They don't have to submit a full paper. They submit an abstract and they discuss their idea for a short amount of time. We also welcome people who are interested to check us out, who are observers. Those are people who attend but don't present, and they're welcome to attend either in person or they can attend online. And what you see there is part of the rich discussion. So we want to take advantage of coming together as scholars to really learn more about the research that we're listening to and discuss that in depth. So we take on a seminar structure. So all of our attendees participate for the entire length of the seminar, usually 5 days. Each person, each presenter will receive a copy of all the presenters' papers so they can review them before they attend the seminar. And then we listen to the presentations, have a preliminary round of question and answers. And then we have sections of the day where people can choose a different breakout group. So we meet in smaller rooms where we can discuss one of the papers for about an hour so that we can have a really long and rich discussion about people's research, the way that they're conducting their research, things that they are finding, what they want to do next, or how it relates to other research that is happening. So we find that to be a really rich experience and a really thought-provoking experience for us to really learn in depth of the kind of research that's happening around the world. As the Research Commission is governed by 6 commissioners, our commission, we're really committed to making sure we have representation from around the globe. So each commissioner is related to a specific region of the world. So as Ana Lucia mentioned, I'm in Canada and I'm the representative for Canada. And my co-president this past 2 years was Ruth Britton, and she was the representative for the United States. You all know Ramiro Lamonji, and Ramiro is currently the representative for Latin America and is the president right now and will organize the 2026 conference. Suvi Sarikallio is from Finland, and she is our commissioner representing Europe. Hiromichi Mito is from Japan, and he is our commissioner representing Asia. And Graham Welsh is our commissioner for the United Kingdom and Africa, and he is situated in England. So we work together to organize the conference, to finalize the call for papers, to make the decision of if we're going to be hybrid, and we also review all the papers that are submitted. So this is who attended. So I have this picture of Ana Lucia and I have a group picture. So I have a picture of Ana Lucia because she was one of our online participants. So these were the pictures of people who joined us online and an example of that. But we also wanted to highlight her because she had been to all of the research commissions. And what is really exciting about, and then the second picture that you see is a picture of the people who joined us in person in Uvascula, and you might see Louis Ricardo there. You might see Ramiro in there, and Carlos Poblete also joined us, but you might see him or you might not. I'm not sure if he was there for that picture. So one of the other things I wanted you to notice in this picture is people join us at all stages in their careers. So we welcome graduate students, we welcome people who are new to the academy, as well as many, many senior middle career and senior career academics. We find it's a really lovely conversation to gain perspectives, to be mentored by people who have done similar work, and to be challenged by people who have new ideas. So it really, really is a welcoming environment where we're there to support one another through questions, to make sure we're all presenting research that is as strong as possible. So I did this chart to show you how many people were coming from different parts of the world. So as you can see, and maybe as you expect, half of the participants were from the United States and Canada. 25%, or about a quarter, were from Europe and the United Kingdom. We had 6% from Africa. We had a presenter from Kenya, and we had a presenter from Mozambique. We had 10% from Latin America. So we had presentations from Brazil, from Argentina, and from Chile. We had presentations from people in China and Japan, and that made up the 10% of the folks who were joining us from Asia. And then this chart tells you what areas or contexts of music education the presentations were about. So I'm going to show you this chart. And then I have some tables that show you the titles of the papers and also the various themes within these contexts. So for this, this chart, it shows you that many of our presentations were related to music education in higher education. Also, we had some presentations that were related to schools, music education that was happening both in elementary and secondary school. We had a couple of presentations that were related to music education that's happening outside of schools or in communities, in community settings, or in private instruction settings. And then we had some presentations that were related specifically to research methodologies, to different novel ways to analyze data or to collect data. So I'll go through those now. This table shows you all the papers that were related to research in higher education. This first tells you the different areas. So we had papers that were about curriculum and pedagogy. We had papers that were about identity, and we had papers that were about performance. See if I could remember these titles in English when I went through them. So the first paper was about, was Louis Ricardo's work related to some new curriculum developments, decolonizing higher education, music education in his institution. The second paper related to curriculum was about using a new way or ways to support self-regulated learning for students in higher education in ear training classes. And then the third one was a paper from a graduate student in Africa, and he was looking also at Indigenous ways of learning, singing, and dancing. And so his research was showing us some of the ways students learned organically, and thinking about how that can inform the way that we're teaching people to teach music education. When the papers related to identity, we had a paper from the United States looking at teachers' identities who were from an Afro-Latino background. We had a poster presenter who they were talking about microaggressions and those experiences in music education settings. We had another one that was an experiment looking at what contributes to musical identity. And then we had another one from Kenya, a paper that was looking at students' perceptions of their learning in the studio experience during the pandemic, that compared experiences from folks in Kenya with those in the United States. Then we had another set of papers that were related to the performing of music in higher education settings in various ways. So one was experiment looking at where people were tracking their eyes, so the way where they're looking when they're giving coachings. There was another talk about tempo and how different tempos are experienced by folks. This third one was related to in the US about marching bands and competitions that marching bands enter and the subjective nature of the judging. And then there was other ones about, what's that one about? Then there was, in Finland, they were talking about results of music perceptions of video games. And then in Ireland, they were talking about a pilot study for different types of music. And then in the last one there, what were they comparing in the US? They were attention. That was also related to the eye tracking, where people's attention was. Sorry, I'm trying to translate it and then remember what it was. Okay. So that gives you an overview of what people are thinking about in terms of big picture about what the curriculum are, about the people and those experiences, and then how the music is made through different ways. One is about how it's assessed, what people are doing to interact, and the different parts of the education. So these papers are related to in K through 12 education, and they centered around also different identities and experiences. There were some papers around assessment, and then there were papers around curriculum and pedagogy. So just let you scan that for a minute. So the first paper was from a researcher in Japan, and onchi, translated into English, is tone deafness. So it's this idea that you can't hear or that you can't sing properly. So they were looking at students' perceptions of their own onchi and what that feeling was. The research in Portugal is an experiment or like a clinical, it's a multi-year experiment looking at different social and cognitive growth that happens through different musical activities with young 7-year-olds. So that's a really interesting topic. And then in the United States, they talked about immigrant Latinos experiences and their identity formation through music. And then in Finland, we have another multi-year big study comparing students' experiences in music and in phys ed. And those children are also quite young. So I think their age is between ages 5 and 9. Then in terms of assessment, there was a paper in China looking at how we assess in music education. In China, the second one was a pilot study about the Gordon's test of musical aptitude and translating that onto iPads for young children. And then the third one was about the marching bands and considering those assessments. And then the fourth one in Japan again was about creativity and teachers' roles in helping students compose songs. And then our third category is in outside of schools and outside of higher ed. So I put 2 papers in that category. One paper was from Greece, and that researcher was looking at the music that happens in migrant camps in Greece. And she noted that there were people living in those camps who were coming from many different countries. So she was looking at some of the musics that were happening amongst the children in those camps. So she was going to collect data the day after her presentation. So she was giving us an overview of that. And then the second piece of research was a poster that was presented by a doctoral student from Norway who was looking at in the studio, so people learning to play the piano, and also the way that teachers talk or don't talk about motor theory when they're teaching about technique in piano learning. And then the third one is about the research methodologies themselves. So I put philosophy in here as well. So the first one was from Ana Lucia, and it was about our philosophy of music education and how our philosophies are related to our practices. The second was by Carlos, and that was his research trying to understand what it is we mean by culture and developing a model around culture. Third one was from Norway, and it was also a graduate student who was identifying a framework to look at the idea of boundaries and how there are different relationships and what the boundaries or dividing roles are between a teacher and a student, and the different responsibilities that we have, and how we navigate or create boundaries in teaching one-on-one. And then the third one, Steve Jinsky, that was comparing structural equation modeling and grounded theory. And that was exploring how both of those methodologies think about ideas and structure ideas to create models. Then there were some papers around data analysis. So one was from my research team, and we were looking at ways that we can use an AI generated tool that's called MediaPipe, and how we can analyze data from Zoom calls actually to look at engagement. Another paper was by a doctoral student in Hungary who used in vivo to do a large text analysis to find words that from music education journals, to look at how many of those words could be related to Marxism or communist kinds of language. And then, of course, we had a paper that was looking at titles. So this was Evelyn Orman's paper, and she was looking at the titles of manuscripts from the International Journal of Music Education. And she was looking at these titles to show how the way we title our papers change over time, as well as the different focuses that have taken place in music education over the last while. So that tells you a little bit about how we think about the papers related to research. And then, as I mentioned before, we welcome research from a variety of traditions. So this table outlines the different methodologies that our researchers presented on at the Research Commission. So what you'll see in this list is a variety of qualitative methodologies, some different quantitative methodologies, as well as some different philosophical or narrative approaches to research. So I'll give you a minute to read that, and then we'll move on. All right. Great. Okay. See you in 2026. So I won't speak very much because I don't want to give away all of the secrets that Ramiro is going to share with you in a couple of weeks. but I will tell you, as the person who will host and work with Ramiro for 2026, you are warmly welcome to Queen's University in 2026, and we really, really hope that we will see you there. I'm pretty sure we're going to stay hybrid, and Ramiro can compare that. So come to Queens. Queens is, you would need to first fly to Montreal or Toronto, and then take a train to Kingston, which is about a 3-hour journey, but it is really beautiful. The leadership leading into our 2026 Research Commission will be Ramiro, who will be the president or the chair. Hiromichi stays on as our Commissioner of Asia and Oceania. Suvi stays as the Commissioner of Europe. And we welcome Jennifer Whitaker, who will represent Canada and the United States. So we've decided to put those two countries together within one commission mandate. And then we also are welcoming on Regina Saltari, who will represent the United Kingdom and Africa. You will notice that Graham Welsh has a new role as the Commissioner at Large, and he's taken on the responsibility to help us identify and develop some different outreach opportunities for people we can partner with so that we can increase and support the development of music education research in different parts of the globe, so that we can ensure that music education research continues to have a really, really strong representation in around the world, and that we can develop some programs for people who maybe need some additional support to increase their capacity. So this is a bit of a timeline, and I welcome Ramiro to unmute if he wants to say anything. The call for papers will come out in 2025, usually towards the middle of the year. Posters, if you choose a poster, you will be asked to submit an abstract. If you choose to present a paper, you will be asked to submit a 3,000-word paper, which includes, in addition to an abstract and some references. The seminar will take place in July of 2026, and registration will start in early 2026. And Ramiro will speak more about all of these wonderful things on November the 1st. And I think that's it for me. So I will say a huge obrigado, muchas gracias again. It has been a real honor to speak with you, and I look forward to our conversation. Hopefully, happy to have questions in Spanish, and someone will translate them or answer them in Spanish for you. So muchas gracias, or Portuguese. Ana Lucia, you're back.
I want,
Sí, Andrés.
may I, Ramiro?
Yeah, sure.
May I thank you, Julia, for the so well structured description of what has happened, so detailed. And I think that Lucas, le estoy agradeciendo a Julia por su, yo creo que muy clara presentación, y le agradezco también a Lucas, el secretario de comunicación de la RELEM, por haber hecho la producción de la traducción, y a Ramiro por haberlo supervisado. Así que entonces creo que cuando esto llegue a nuestros más de 1.000 miembros con el boletín religiosamente grabado, como siempre, esto va a ser un documento de un gran valor. Ramiro, te doy la palabra. Yo tengo alguna pregunta técnica, pero solamente si no hay muchas preguntas.
Thank you, Julia. Gracias, Julia. Gracias a todas y todos los que están participando. Y bueno, si tenemos preguntas, tenemos comentarios que alguien quiera hacer, em, pueden o levantar la mano o plantearlas en el chat. Yo puedo traducirlas o si alguien la quiere hacer en inglés directamente, las traduzco al español. Lamentablemente del portugués puedo intentar entenderlo, pero no voy a poder intentar hablarlo. Disculpas, pero vamos a poder comunicarnos sin duda. Ana Lucía.
Yo, como siempre, tengo una pregunta, pero más que pregunta, I have a question, pero más que una pregunta, more than a question, es un comentario. It's a comment. Uh, you have to, para la gente creo que quedó claro que al ser híbrido el seminario, I'm speaking about the timetable, no todo el mundo asistió a todo. Yo, para poder asistir, me levantaba a las 3 de la mañana. I am speaking about the wake up time I have to be able to join. Pero simplemente, si Imagina está en el norte de Finlandia, imagínense que está muy lejos de Buenos Aires y la diferencia de horario es enorme. Pero lo que quiero comentar, porque creo que vale la pena, es que sugiero la lectura muy atenta de la síntesis que ha hecho Julia. I suggest reading carefully of your presentation, porque Julia ha entrado en detalles de porcentajes, de países, de temas, de categorías, de nombres. By the way, Julia, which was exactly your presentation?
Oh, it was the one that Win Pulverella presented on behalf of our research team because the commissioners can't present. But it was a paper that was looking at Zoom footage and AI. So it was a paper where we were presenting a feasibility study about how you can use an AI tool to analyze observation of singing and dancing.
Es decir, como va a estar el traductor, yo estoy tranquila porque lo que acaba de decir Julia va a ser traducido, o ya fue traducido, pero el tema es la diversidad de temas. Y mi segundo y último comentario es que por favor no dejen de leer el paper del doctor Stephen Chizky. El paper del doctor Stephen Chizky es uno de los trabajos más serios, más de avanzada, más complejo, más discutidor, más mostrando la evidencia de lo que es el trabajo serio y la combinatoria inteligente de la investigación cuantitativa con la investigación cualitativa. Enormemente difícil de hacer. Los recomiendo intensamente. Para mí es un trabajo de universidad en este momento. Toda cátedra de metodología de la investigación tendría que estudiar ese paper del doctor Chizky, porque demostró la diferencia entre los absolutos que se pretenden muchas veces desde la investigación que discute conceptos modernos. La revisión de las palabras está de moda, ¿no, Yusa? Lo hemos hablado más de una vez en alguna conferencia. Y a veces creemos que cambiando la palabra cambiamos ideas, y resulta que no. Y por el otro lado, demostró que con mucha sabiduría, Chinsky is really a science man. He is really a thinker. Chinsky realmente es una persona que piensa y es una persona que estudia mucho. Lo tuvimos en la Argentina dando conferencias en mi universidad, en la UADE, pero demostró los riesgos de la moda. I have just said, Julia, that Stephen showed the risk of fashion. Fashion in research is a danger.
Oh, yeah.
La moda en la investigación es un gran peligro y está muy de moda la moda. No digo nada más. Gracias. Thank you. I don't know whether you want to follow up on that, Julia.
The only thing I'll say to add is that we will publish a proceedings from the seminar. I'm laughing because I have to edit it, and hopefully Ramiro's going to help me. Hopefully we will have that done this year, but we will certainly share that with RELEM, the link, because we will publish the papers virtually, so you'll be able to download a PDF of the papers, so you'll be able to read the works that Ana Lucia was mentioned as well. So you'll be able to see all the titles.
Sería muy generoso y una magnífica idea, Ramiro. No sé, Yusa, ¿qué pensamos, Sergio? Publicar los papers, aunque sea en inglés, pero tenerlos a la disposición. Even in English would be interesting to have that published. Thank you so much, Julia.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Ana Lucía. Gracias, Ana Lucía. Thank you, Julia. You want to comment something else? Or do we have another? ¿Tenemos alguna otra pregunta, otro comentario? Mientras alguien piensa alguna otra pregunta, puedo hacer una pregunta yo. In one of your slides, you presented a graphic where the United States, Canada, and the UK added 75% of the presentations. En uno de los gráficos que mostraba Julia, Estados Unidos, Canadá y el Reino Unido sumaban el 75% de los presentadores. And then you added about Graham's new role as a developer and identifier of areas to develop. Después, al final, presentaba este nuevo rol de Graham Welch como un miembro de la comisión para identificar y colaborar en el desarrollo de la investigación en otras áreas subrepresentadas. How could you go along these lines to see how can we get a wider participation of different parts of the world? Le pregunto si puede desarrollar un poco más acerca de esas ideas para lograr una mayor representación de distintas zonas del mundo, ¿no?
Yeah, I think I mean, you will help me speak to this. We wanted, I think Graham is trying to find ways. Okay, I'm going to say two things. One is his role is to help us or people as commissioners. If you have initiatives that you want to establish in Latin America, Graham can also help. The commissioners from the Research Commission can help be part of that, whether that's presenting or helping to facilitate that. Graham also is on the board of SEMPRE, the Society for Music Education and Music Psychology, and sometimes they have grant money that's available to help. So I think he, in that role, wants to identify and all of us as commissioners, we want to work together to help to support music education. And so if that's helping to have specific events, speaking to graduate students, having mini seminars, that's something we're happy to talk about how we can support. And then I think in Graham's role, he can also advocate for some of these activities to Sempre. The second way to help with that role is, I think, for us to think about how we can support or leverage hybrid opportunities. I would also love to hear from different people here of what we could do to help with participation. And I think we want to make sure people feel welcome and feel that they can try or be part of it. But I think we would welcome feedback about what supports would be necessary or would be helpful. Ramiro, do you want to add anything, either in English or Spanish?
Espero que en primer lugar que se haya comprendido. A veces los subtítulos quedan un tanto extraños, o las posibilidades que tiene este recurso tecnológico. No sé si alguien quiere comentar sobre esto también que mencionó Julia. Creo que es importante esta posibilidad de establecer colaboraciones y aprovechar estos espacios colaborativos, ¿no? Sobre todo teniendo en cuenta que en Latinoamérica producimos muchísimo conocimiento y de pronto a estos espacios internacionales Latinoamérica ha tenido, por un poco de lo que yo pienso hablar en noviembre, pero también de lo que viene fuertemente explorando Ana Lucía y Sergio también, que es esta representación que siempre ha tenido Latinoamérica en los espacios de investigación de ISME, pero de pronto tenemos también esta realidad de un 75% de angloparlantes, y todas las cosas que producimos nosotros en Latinoamérica creo que merecen y nos enriquecen a nosotros y enriquecen a otros investigadores de otras zonas del mundo, y merecen ser conocidas y difundidas, y sería muy bueno que podamos interactuar. Desde mi lugar y desde mi lugar de argentino, sé que muchas veces las cuestiones económicas pueden ser una dificultad. Julia está hablando justamente de un rol y de esta posibilidad de conexiones que la Comisión de investigación puede hacer, por ejemplo, con Sempre, y como Sempre puede ser también algunos otros espacios en donde se pueden generar estas sinergias para poder visibilizar por lo pronto y llevar adelante tal vez otros proyectos que a nosotros nos pueden resultar más desafiantes por su implementación, pero me parece importante que se pueda participar, y por eso creo que es valiosísima esta excepción de haber podido encontrarnos con Julia para saber de la Comisión de Investigación de ISME.
Perdón, creo que Sergio tendría que hacer algún comentario también, porque lo veo acá y él está trabajando mucho con Paraguay para hacia el año que viene, y habría que recordar que América Latina ha tenido sus propios foros, todos en general publicados, con instancias de investigación a partir de 1997 con los regionales, ¿no? Sergio.
Gracias, Ana Lucía. Thank you very much, Julia. It was very exciting to hear from the Research Commission now. And this time, I've been in this commission many times, but nowadays it's quite difficult. And Ramiro said a very important thing. The costs to belong to ISME and to go to an ISME conference is really very high. I'm retired now. I don't have support from my university, for instance. It's quite difficult to have this type of expense to travel. And certainly, this is my problem. This is my point. But I know many people in Latin America that would love to go to ISME, but they can't afford. But it's fantastic that this model, that this hybrid model is installed now, and people can follow what is happening in many ISME situations, in the commissions, in the conference. And I think this is a very, very important initiative in this time of the world, that people cannot travel. And we have a lot of conferences. We need to make choices to go. I go this or I can't go there. And well, it's very good to know that this format will be continued. And the hybrid model, I think it's very important for many people in Latin America. Thank you very much for continuing this. And I really, we need to think more about the relationship of the commissions, for instance, with the regional Latin American conference. There are, as Ana Lucia said, it's a long time cycle of conferences. We have produced a lot of materials, and we have very good conferences many times. So we need to find a way to join this material, or to connect, or to translate. I don't know exactly what to do, but let us think about this. Maybe the next conference will be in July in Paraguay, in the city of Asunción, the capital of the country, in July. So we are almost close to launch the website and the call for papers, etc. And we are discussing the program. Maybe we could find ways to connect more the commissions with the conference, or ISME with the conference, especially because now our president is a Latin American. And so I think it's easier to establish some contacts, because she knows, Patricia Gonzalez knows very well what happens in Latin America. So let's see what happens in the next months and for the next conference.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Yeah. And Lucía, did you want to say something?
Mi comentario es que para todos, extraoficialmente, porque todavía no llegó la comunicación oficial, pero extraoficialmente la RELEM va a ser, o es ya resuelto, una miembro del Consejo de Asociaciones Profesionales de la ISME. Ser yo, la candidatura que habíamos hecho el año pasado ha sido aprobada por la comisión directiva, pero no lo vamos a poner oficialmente hasta que no recibamos la comunicación en escrito que podamos reproducir, pero tenemos ya, son trámites que hace un año que estamos haciendo. RELEM will be a COPA member, Julia. And this is very important because vamos a poder diseminar información. En ese sentido, yo no querría dejar de comentar que Graham Welch, desde sus diversas posiciones, inclusive antes de llegar a presidente de la ISME, I'm referring to Graham, even before becoming the ISME president, estuvo siempre muy interesado por el resto del mundo, porque Graham fue Her Majesty's Inspector in Music. Entonces tiene que ver con Sage, tiene que ver con muchas cosas en el mundo. Y además, yo quiero hacer un comentario porque nobleza obliga. Es cierto que el 75% están en el primer mundo. Y aparte de la cuestión del dinero, I'm speaking about percentage, de Anglo-Saxon, let's say, dominant. On the one hand, en una mano, el inglés es el latín de hoy. English is kind of Latin. one way or another, nos entendemos en latín. Pero por el otro lado, también hay mucha inmigración para sacar títulos en Estados Unidos, porque los títulos de Estados Unidos, vivir en Estados Unidos, sacar, hacer carrera ahí, casarse con estadounidense o con canadiense, también significa establecimiento, como también en una época significó en Europa, es el caso de Yusa, 10 años en Alemania. Es decir, los latinoamericanos también nos movemos mucho, y a veces cuando hay alguien que presenta un paper y está residente, como sería el caso de Héctor Vázquez en Canadá, está residiendo en Canadá, sí, pero es mexicano, y va y viene, y va y viene, y va y viene. Lo que quiere decir que la representatividad de numérica es bueno, pero no es para hacer demagogia con eso, si me entienden lo que quiero decir. Es simplemente que es lo mismo que en su momento en la Europa de una época se iba a los Países Bajos. La época en que Holanda, con sus grandes movimientos de negocios, dominaba los océanos. Son cosas muy complejas. Lo importante es que nos encontremos, nos conozcamos y estudiemos. I have made a little thinking about the relevance of English, the relevance of the possibility of getting to study in USA or in Canada or in UK. History is a complex matter, and percentage not always represent the truth. Probably is just a way of describing. Por eso me gustó tanto el trabajo de Chinsky, porque demuestra numéricamente la relatividad de los cualitativismos. Es muy interesante. No hablo más.
¿Alguien más tiene algún comentario o quiere continuar con esta reflexión de Ana Lucía que siempre nos deja pensando, ¿no?
¿Lusa?
Thank you very much, Julia. Eu gostaria de fazer uma pergunta em português, se alguém pode traduzir. Ramiro?
Yeah, I can try. Sí, puedo.
Para além das discussões territoriais e linguísticas, eu gostaria de fazer uma pergunta sobre temas, a categorização de temas. Posso?
Besides languages and territorial boundaries, she wanted to ask about thematic categories or subjects. Yes. Sí, Gisela.
Ok. Existe uma política nessa comissão atual de uma certa indução de temas, um convite a temas que eventualmente não aparecem nessa categorização, ou a categorização permite-nos ver alguns temas, como a performance, que às vezes se distancia do campo da educação musical. Existe alguma reflexão na atual comissão sobre essas categorias temáticas e se faltam algumas, como convidar, como induzir uma produção na área de educação musical que tragam esses temas, que não são temas de moda, de fashion, como a Lucía Frega trouxe, mas talvez são temas que estão necessitando de trabalhos e que, por acaso, não estão presentes na comissão de pesquisa. Obrigada.
I will try, but if someone can help me, si alguien me puede ayudar, bienvenido. Jusamara is asking about if the Commission has policies or reflections, or if there is any kind of study, or if the Commission is planning to invite researchers to include subjects or themes that are not are missing in the general picture, such as performance. She said that is usually not so closely related to music education, or not necessarily fashion or fashionable trends, but other subjects that need to be discussed and seem to be missing.
Yeah, I would like to know, Ramiro can answer this too. I would say yes. So when people submit their applications, we assess each paper on its own merits. So we assess the rigor of the study and the comprehensiveness of the literature review and the findings. So this analysis that I showed of the themes wasn't purposeful. It was me organizing the papers that were accepted. So if researchers want to study these things that aren't part of the categories, they are welcome to submit. And we assess each presentation based on the quality of the research itself, not on the topic. So we would welcome new and different ideas that are within the realm of music education.
Hago una rápida por las dudas, o si alguien más, no sé si Ana Lucía, Sergio o alguien más quiere. Si no, yo hago una rápida síntesis, por lo que no puede haber salido los subtítulos. Hay una búsqueda de concientizar justamente estas categorías, de explicitarlas. Bueno, el mismo análisis que Julia nos presentó hoy y que veíamos las distintas tablas en sus diapositivas. Quiero también agregar que Graham Welch, en el momento, Graham made also a kind of categorization of methodologies. Él hizo, mientras estábamos en el seminario, un análisis rápido de las metodologías que se estaban presentando. Y entonces los trabajos que se reciben son evaluados en base a la rigurosidad, la comprensibilidad, la revisión de la literatura que se haga, los hallazgos que presentan. Por la calidad del trabajo. Y son bienvenidos todos los abordajes y todas las temáticas que se quieran presentar. Si puedo complementar con respecto a la pregunta que hacía Yusamara, creo que no ha habido hasta ahora tal vez esta explícita salida a buscar los temas que estaban ausentes, pero sí creo que este tipo de análisis como el que compartió Julia con nosotros, o este que menciono que hizo Graham, es una manera de poder tener una más clara, un más claro reconocimiento de cuáles son las cosas que se están discutiendo y cuáles podrían ser las cosas que nos conviene también en este trabajo de estimular áreas, no solo áreas geográficas que están subrepresentadas, sino tal vez áreas de conocimiento que puedan estar faltando. Ana Lucía.
Sí, creo, Julia, I will refer to my poster.
Okay.
creo que yo puedo aportar también.
Bueno.
Mi póster generó que Graham Welch planteara, vos estabas, Ramiro, en la reunión, que le llamaba la atención que yo hubiera sacado una postura que tenía que ver con enseñanza de arte, el Zanotti y la postura de ciudad educativa, y comparara con el impacto de una bibliografía, Freire, y Zanotti, contemporáneo, Freire brasileño, Zanotti argentino. Simplemente Graham había hecho el estudio y no había encontrado un solo trabajo de investigación que hubiera tomado ese modelo. Entonces, la comisión de la ISME, salvo los primeros seminarios, pero sobre eso hay un artículo que escribimos con Evelyn, no tuvo temas fijos, siempre, y empezó por tener alguna postura para empezar a sentar, digamos así, orden de método, seriedad metodológica de investigación, pero fueron los primeros seminarios. Después siempre la respuesta válida es la que acaba de traducir Ramiro, que dio Julia. Rigurosidad, no moda. No recuerdo yo, salvo algunos seminarios europeos hechos en Europa antes de la caída del muro de Berlín, que tuvieran un tema de seminario. Siempre se eligieron por la calidad temática y la rigurosidad metodológica. Creo que como respuesta alcanza lo demás. Yusa, usted va a poder ver los papers que hay publicados y cualquier cosa, en los últimos 2 o 3 seminarios va a encontrar información sobre eso. Pero la moda surge porque está de moda. Bueno, yo, muchas gracias, Ramiro. Me parece que corresponde que te deje a vos hacer el cierre porque es el que hiciste el gran trabajo. I will just say you, Julia, thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. And really, and you did that so carefully as you used to do. Thank you, dear.
It was such an honor. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much it was lovely to see you and to meet new friends and to see old friends again. So thank you so much for this.
Ramiro will close.
Thank you, Julia, for your presentation. Gracias por esta presentación. Gracias a todas y todos los que se han conectado hoy, a todos los que van a poder disfrutar de este video y observarlo y pensar, y por los canales de comunicación de la RELEM seguramente podremos continuar intercambios sobre esto que estuvimos discutiendo hoy. Me parece que así como es interesante, además, antes de continuar con el cierre, quiero agradecer también a RELEM. Yo he tenido, y a su grupo de apoyo, yo he tenido una participación más activa durante un tiempo con la edición de los cuadernos, y tal vez no he estado participando tan activamente en este tipo de encuentros virtuales para el que me han invitado hoy a guiar un poco y acompañar. Y me parece que es así como es valiosísima la acción de la RELEM para poder establecer esta red latinoamericana, que también podamos establecer puentes con otros investigadores de otros lugares del mundo para tener nuestra posibilidad, como también han dicho anteriormente, pueden ser, por ejemplo, las conferencias regionales de ISME desde 1997, espacios donde es muy enriquecedor para nosotros latinoamericanos poder encontrarnos, intercambiar, pero me parece valioso que también establezcamos estos nexos con otros lugares del mundo donde como dice Ana Lucía, bueno, el idioma puede ser una barrera, pero también puede ser una herramienta para comunicarnos y tenemos herramientas otras. Ya mejorará también estos subtítulos de Zoom, como han mejorado los de YouTube, y podremos comunicarnos más allá de la limitación que pueda establecer un idioma. Y creo que son estos espacios colaborativos los que nos enriquecen y los que pueden potenciar nuestro trabajo y visibilizar nuestro trabajo, ¿sí? En muchos casos se producen cosas muy valiosas que tienen tal vez un fuerte impacto local, pero cuesta poder difundir más allá de ese lugar. eh, y entonces se imponen modas, ¿no? Porque tal vez tienen como el destino de prender más fuerte en algunos lugares y difundirse. Pero es valioso que no se nos pierda toda esta riqueza de conocimientos que estamos produciendo. Y entonces agradezco mucho esta posibilidad. Bueno, no sé si particularmente los coordinadores o el grupo de apoyo de RELEM quiere cerrar y decir algo. Por mi parte, yo sé que nos encontraremos nuevamente el 1 de noviembre para seguir hablando también de estos espacios de participación latinoamericana en el mundo, ¿no? Sergio.
Thank you very much, Julia. Muchas gracias, Ramiro, por la conducción. Gracias por todos por estar presentes en más esta realización de la RELEM. Un gran abrazo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Esperamos
Thank you.
todos los trabajos del seminario para poder ponerlos en el próximo boletín. Ramiro?
We'll have to work editing the papers, Julia.
I know.
Hola.
Okay.
Gracias,
Bye.
muchas
Bye.
gracias.
Bye. Thank you. Gracias.
Bye.
Chao.